Brazil has the last pro-American government in Latin America. It's our single most important ally in the Western Hemisphere. Allowing Brazil to become a colony of China would be a significant blow to us and potentially a very serious military threat. The Biden administration appears to be in favor of it. One person who's emphatically not in favor of it is the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro. So, of course, the American media hate him.
Bolsonaro doesn't believe in social distancing, doesn't want lockdowns, much more extreme than President Trump.
Brazil's far-right nationalist president Jair Bolsonaro spoke at an event in Dallas. These two men and fellow travelers like Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin represent the growing global threat to the ideas of liberalism.
These are people whose research consists of 3 minutes on Wikipedia on the way to the studio. He's a racist! Of course he is. He, quote, doesn't want lockdowns. There's your proof. But it is the last clip from plagiarist Fareed Zakaria that explains why they're so mad at Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro, Fareed Zakaria tells us, represents a, quote, growing global threat to the ideas of liberalism. Liberalism, meaning neoliberalism, meaning globalism. And in fact, that is true. Bolsonaro is no Justin Trudeau. He's not a low-IQ fascist who would be working as an Instagram influencer if he doesn't have his own army. He's not the president of Ukraine, who shuts down television stations that dare to criticize him and outlaws opposition parties and arms Nazis. In conventional terms, Bolsonaro is, in fact, liberal. He has done nothing to stop civil liberties in Brazil. But at the same time, he is a nationalist. He cares about his country. He resists China. Therefore, he must be stopped. George Soros hates him, and so does Joe Biden. He's not with the program. So naturally, we wanted to meet him. Yesterday, we did. We sat with Bolsonaro for more than an hour. And the first thing we learned is that the left in Brazil hates him very much. They tried to kill him when he first ran for president 4 years ago. With very little money and the backing of no party, he came out of nowhere to get 57 million votes. But he almost didn't survive to be elected. He was stabbed by a leftist almost to death at a rally, at which point the left funded lawyers to come in and rescue his attempted murderer. An amazing story that hasn't gotten a ton of coverage in the United States. He's an authoritarian, says MSNBC. All right. So we asked Bolsonaro about the stabbing in our conversation. We also asked him about his Christian faith, which is on display, something else that triggers them. We asked him about our Supreme Court's stance on abortion, his views on gun rights. And we asked him, fundamentally, why do you think you're so hated? Here's the first part of the conversation. The parallels between politics in Brazil and politics in the United States are striking to an American. You are opposed by a coalition of billionaires, college professors, and CNN. Tell us what the opposition wants. What will Brazil look like if your opponent wins, do you think?
A minha eleição foi quase milagre.
My election itself was almost a miracle. I had nothing going for me to be elected. I was just, say, an isolated member of Congress, known as the lower segment of National Congress in Brazil. I conducted my campaign anchored on a biblical passage, John 3:32. Thou shalt know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The media never gave me any visibility or space. Much to the contrary. They attacked me all the time throughout the campaign. On September the 6th, 2018, the eve of the election, I suffered an attempt. Doctors say my survival was a miracle, and the same is true for my election. And a very important factor, which you may perhaps not be aware of, is the fact that Brazil had a country that, upon taking office as president, the incumbent president surrenders strategic positions in the cabinet political parties, including the cabinet ministries, state banks, state companies. I did not do that. So I got a lot of pushback, strong pushback from Brazilian parliament, and we were able to withstand. In 2019, in 2020, of course, the pandemic hit and everything changed. And this country was doomed to a fiasco because many governors actually gathered forces through the economy to defeat me. We were able to successfully come to the end of 2020, 2021, and came to a positive balance of about 3 million new job posts created in Brazil during the pandemic. And we're now in the last year of my current term in office, and the left wing is really going desperate, because despite everything, you know, we're doing pretty well. Now, the problems in Brazil are the problems that are there for the whole world, such as, for example, inflation as a result of mistake, and policies adopted during the pandemic such as stay at home and the economy will take care of itself later. The lockdown policies as well as the war between Ukraine and Russia, which has partly of course affected the price of fuels, which in turn of course reflects in higher inflation levels. The left wing uses that tries to use that to defeat me. If they do come back to power, in my view, they will never go back or go out of power again. Even former President Lula, I mean everything he says, despite all the foolish things he says, and despite attacking so many people, such as Christians, for example, when it comes to the issues such as abortion policy and the apparent partnership he has with many crooks and thieves, he wants many crimes to no longer be crimes. And he wants to be able to lend money to dictatorships all around the world. He wants to disarm the good, willing population. They also want to revitalize the MST, the Landless People Movement, and arm them. I mean, they should have no less or no more than 10% of votes, but they do. The opinion polls conducted by Data Following, one of the last polls indicated that Lula is perceived as being more honest than I am. I mean, this kind of opinion poll, of course, is totally mistaken and doesn't work, but they do conduct these polls to attach some element of credibility to potential future manipulation of votes. That's a suspicion we clearly have. That's actually more than a suspicion. We have some circumstantial evidence, and if the left wing does come back to power, in my view, they'll never leave power anymore. And this country will follow the same pathways as Venezuela, Argentina, Chile, Colombia. Brazil will be one more wagon in that train. And the losers will be the Brazilian population, and also the left wing itself. I mean, the left-wing voter will lose as a result, and all of South America will be colored red, if you understand me. And in my view, the United States will become virtually an isolated country in the world.
Quai, seu app de vídeos curtos.